I love connecting with people, even though I'm introvert at heart. I love like the connection. I think it's something that we're missing in this world. So anytime that I can like get face to face someone and figure out like what their problem is. So maybe they want, something silly like a bigger backyard.
Yeah.
And the reason they want that is so they can play with their kids.
Yeah.
And if I can show them that and give them that, like the joy of it is one of my biggest.
Welcome. Today we're here with Rachel Wright. How did we even meet? Like
through Instagram, social media.
It really is such a powerful way of like meeting people. I really appreciated about you that, I didn't know you, right? And somebody told me like, hey, you should reach out to Rachel. But on your Instagram, you look so well put together.
Well, thank you.
And to me, I know that so many people think like social media is just a thing, right? But when you have something that's so well put together, it says a lot about the person. So when I saw your profile, I thought you had already, like, you were, like, way beyond your years. I was like, oh, man, like, I wonder if she's even going to get back to me, right? And that's really one of the things that I think a lot of people might be, like, even drawn to you about is that you, with what you're doing, you're a realtor, right? You play that part very well.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So when I asked you to do the podcast, what was your first impression? Like, what did you think?
I was excited. I was a little nervous. I got my real estate license this summer. So, and I joined Realty One Group in August.
Wow.
So I'm brand new in the business, and I was like, wow, someone's reaching out to me. This is a little scary. But excited.
Yeah. See, there's nothing wrong with starting just in August because we just started the podcast in August too, right? So, but it's in the small amount of time that you have, the amount of growth potential that there is insane. Before you started doing real estate, what led you to that?
What led me to real estate? A couple of things. I've always say I have two passions. So my bachelor's is in exercise science. So I have a personal training background. I have my health coaching cert. So I've always coached people and helped people. And my parents used to have a few properties, and it's something that like really I would say saved them. So I was like, what else can I do to really help people? And it was buying and selling a home.
Why did you have that passion of helping people?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's just something I've always done. I played soccer growing up. So in a sport, and especially a team sport, you're always around people. And especially soccer, the whole point is to make your teammates look good.
Yeah.
The better your teammates look, the better you look, the better you guys win.
Yeah.
So I think that's just like an athlete personality trait that I have. And then...
Can you draw something deeper? Because though, even just hearing you say it, right? Like, it wasn't about necessarily like just helping one or two people. It's you started by helping people a different way, and then you had to go into a different sector, not just to take an office job, but to really be able to get that ability for you to have the control to help even more people, right? Like, is there something that you say like, man, I just love people? Like, is it something like that?
A little bit. I love connecting with people, even though I'm introvert at heart. I love like the connection. I think it's something that we're missing in this world. So anytime that I can like get face to face someone and figure out like what their problem is. So maybe they want, something silly like a bigger backyard.
Yeah.
And the reason they want that is so they can play with their kids.
Yeah.
And if I can show them that and give them that, like the joy of it is one of my biggest, like.
Yeah. The reason I ask is not to try to be too intrusive, but
be intrusive.
Yeah. But I like knowing the way that people really, like, they're wired, right? And when I hear something, usually it goes, no, it can't be that simple. It really can't. And I think that I was actually going to ask you this. What do you think you, Rachel Wright, can offer the world that no one else can?
Oh, that's such a good question. What could I offer the world?
Mm-hmm.
I think I really, truly care. I do get like extremely invested in my people.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have like a health background, because personal training, it wasn't about losing weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about, I don't know, looking better in the bikini for the girls or getting healthy in that way. It was about, hey, I crawled up a flight of stairs today at work and I've never done that.
Mm-hmm.
It was about my clients that were like, I didn't have to get a first class airplane ticket because I could actually fit in the normal seats, and now I can travel more. So that's kind of what it's about. It's like a really like, I don't know, it's like a feeling that you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when people say you volunteer, you get a good feeling from it.
Yeah.
And I get like the best feeling from that.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that like everybody has their own thing to give.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, with you enjoying just people in general, I feel that there's going to be something big that's going to come your way, because when you have something so noble, especially in these last few months, I've noticed that something is meant right for you. And when you find that, like, you just chase it down. And to have something that noble, I can only imagine what it's going to be. Like, I don't know what it is about you, but like, I really just am rooting for you. And I know that you're going to get there within 5 years, and we're going to look back at this and be like, I told you. I absolutely told you. What's your background like? Like, was it just easy for you growing up and this is where you're at now, or like, what was it like?
I wouldn't say it's easy. I grew up in Central Illinois, so
Mm-hmm.
Bloomington Normal, for anybody who knows that area. There's a lot of Midwest people out here if you're listening in the Phoenix area. But town of 100,000 people, my life was soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was every weekend, all the time. I played collegiate at Murray State, so it was something that was my life. I wouldn't say everything was easy. My dad was a contract worker. He actually lived in his car up in Belvedere because he didn't want to move us when I was in high school. So for 2 years, like, he gave up his life almost with us.
Wow.
To work, and I saw his hard work and what he wanted for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I get like a lot of my determination from him.
Yeah.
And like what you can do.
Yeah. And I mean, even so you grew up in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And you moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
That's a huge move.
It was a huge move.
Where did that come from? Like, what happened?
So it was terrible winters in Illinois, to be honest. I mean, I would say I'm a lizard. I love the heat. So it was just one of those things. My boyfriend was like, how do you feel about Arizona? He has an economics background. Mm-hmm. And he loves like what the state is and what it's doing. So
yeah,
we knew people out here. State Farm headquarters is my hometown. So it was an easier transition because we already had a few friends out here.
Yeah.
And he was like, how do you feel about Phoenix? And I was like, great, let's do
yeah.
it. We packed up my
we
packed up my Corolla and we came out.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, so how long did that take though? Like, it was recent?
I moved out here in 2014.
Okay.
So
you stayed in Illinois for a while.
I was in Illinois for a while. Yeah, I obviously grew up there my whole life. Went to college in Kentucky. Yeah. And then after school, I was home for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then I moved out here.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. When I first reached out to you and I asked you about being on the podcast, you seemed a little unsure if you were kind of like the right person about it. If this was really what I should be kind of like investing my time in. But do you now see, like, because I know you heard a few of the episodes, do you now see why I reached out to you?
I do.
Yeah, it's not about, it's more about potential.
Yeah.
It's about raw potential that I see in people. And it, like, for you, how hard is it for you to find people that think the same way that you do?
It's easier now. I feel like when you put something out, mm-hmm. you attract what you get. Mm-hmm. So that's something I've noticed. So the more I put myself out there, the more I meet people like you. And it's something as simple as, hey, I saw you on social media.
I was going to say, I actually reached out to you, so you're right. You're very easy to attract to people, I guess.
So for me, it's easier. I don't know if it's because like the industries I've been in. I also when I moved out here, I worked for Lululemon, mm-hmm. which they like really believe in like development of their people. And it wasn't so much like the company, but who they bring in. So like the ambassadors that we had there, I've met some of the most rad human beings because of it. So
Yeah. Like who?
if you've heard of Coach Dar, you need to follow her on Instagram. She works for the Suns and is like this huge inspirational speaker. So she's someone that was like, okay. And just everyday people, people I worked with. I mean, people that have been in the Army and have been, you know, been in Iraq for a year or 2 years and the stuff they go through. People just coming in, clients that come in. I mean, just when you actually like sit and listen, I think it's the biggest thing. And that's when you notice that you meet more people. It's not about me talking. It's about you talking and me getting to know you.
Exactly. Who do you draw the biggest inspiration right now? Like who's the person that just like really centers you when you need it?
Like the person I look up to, like listening to.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the question means to you. Like I want, you know.
I have a couple people that draw inspiration. My boyfriend started a roofing business. He's coming up on his 2-year anniversary, and he's someone that's the most ambitious, determined person I've met. So we moved into an RV and lived in an RV for 1.5 years so that we could start his business. And I mean, he slept maybe 3 hours a night, if that.
Wow.
Because he was up at 3 a.m. roofing with the crews. And then after the crews were done, because it was too hot, you know, he was out knocking doors.
Wow.
So I think he's someone that's a huge inspiration to me because I'm like, I've lived it, I've seen it. Like, if you're determined and ambitious and like if you put out there what you want in life, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean that whenever I hear about stories like that, of someone who's successful, right? You can never take away from the person that they're with. Yeah. Because if you weren't that type of person, neither of you would have made it. And that's the reality. Like I always like as much as I like to take credit for what I do, right? I know for a fact that my wife is half of the reason that I'm there. Right? And that really says a lot about you too. If you guys are successful, that says that you were a big cause, if not like most of it as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to think so.
Yeah.
Now he can say the same thing for me.
Yeah. It's hard, you know, it's hard to sometimes say like, you know, I did all the work and now I have to share the credit. But I mean, in the back scenes of all the stuff that's going on, it's like, well, who's putting a lot of the work on the back end, right? The stuff that no one really ever talks about. So, but who else do you take like inspiration from that you're saying?
There's a lot of Grant Cardone. I think he is someone that is always an inspiration.
Comes up a lot on my podcast.
He comes up a lot. Yeah. I mean, he is just like, I don't know if I can cuss here, but like no BS.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Like he's no bullshit, right?
Yeah.
He's just like, do it, you can get it done. Like, so I love his attitude on it. There's a lot of like inspirational women. Like Marie Folio is someone that I've been listening to a lot lately. Jenna Kutcher. What
about Marie? Because I remember you telling me, and I've heard some stuff about her, but I've never really dove that deep into it. So what is it about her that like her thing that she gives to the world?
You know, she's really just like, you can do anything. I was actually listening to her podcast on the way over here, and something that she said is she's like, I write my goals, like my big goals down every day. Because most people don't do that. It's something that everybody tells you to do, right? Yeah. And she was like, I wrote down that I was like a New York Times bestseller 15 times a day. She goes, it's woo-woo, it's whatever, but it happened.
Yeah.
So I just love that she's like, I'm just a normal girl.
Yeah.
And she is. And she's had like struggles in life and things that have happened, but she's just a normal girl that has made a name for herself.
Yeah. You know what's really funny about you talking about writing goals down every day is that I've done that, and I used to do it, and then I stopped, and then I keep going. But whenever I'm not accomplishing a goal, I usually say, well, maybe that goal's not right for me right now, and I take it off the list, and then I put the ones that are really more towards me. And I started realizing, not like maybe even this week, you know, she wrote it down for 15 years or whatever until she got it. Maybe this week I was like, why am I getting rid of these goals? It's because I'm not accomplishing them. Instead, I should keep writing them to remind myself of how I'm failing at them so that I do them, right? Because that's the thing that most people don't want to look at is their failure. And constantly having to write it down and say, like, I'm lying to myself. So that's awesome that if you have somebody who writes something down for 15 years, the mental strength you need to like view yourself as a failure every single day and say, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not there. I want to stop writing it. I'm going to stop writing it. I can't. I got to keep. That's awesome.
I always say, I call it BHAG, so big, hairy, audacious goals. It's a Lululemon term.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that because I was like, okay.
But you shouldn't hit if I always say, and I don't know if this is also like my athletic background, but if you don't hit 70% of your, like, you shouldn't be hitting 70% of your goals. Otherwise, they're not big enough, right?
Yeah.
In soccer, I was a forward, right? My coach always told me, if you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything. Like, if you're not shooting, you should be missing most of your goals. In soccer, you only, one goal wins the game, right?
Yeah.
But you should probably be taking 15, 20, 30, 40, how many shots a game?
Yeah.
So you're failing how many times?
I forgot what baseball is, but like the best.
What is their average?
Their average, the best average in baseball is only like 30% or 20% or something like that of actually hitting. So,
but it's hard.
Yeah.
Because we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fail.
Yeah. This whole email is a specific way, and then I see the word hairy, and I'm like, okay, there's got to be something there.
Big hairy.
Yeah. So, is it actually them that tell you that?
Lululemon?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like workshops we did when I worked there, because I worked there from 2014 till 2018 is when I finally left.
Gotcha. And they were the ones that were like, you got to have big, hairy, audacious goals?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's really funny.
Yeah. And I feel like when you're like start like self-development stuff, you like go crazy about it.
Yeah.
Like you can never like get enough, because you're always like, oh, I know nothing about myself. I learned this, and it opens up a whole world of you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. Well, mine was you only know what you know.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like the opposite. No, I was going to ask you, so what do you think your highest high is going to be?
My highest high?
I'm not saying 5 years. I'm saying ever.
I think my highest high will be, honestly, when I can travel the world and still be getting that passive income. Like I don't have a family yet, but when I have a family, I can fill my kids' passports, right?
Yeah.
And not have to stress. Because even though my parents didn't like want to seem like they were like stressed about money, I was very like well aware of what was going on with my family, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things that you kind of like notice, and you're like, all right, so I think my highest high will be security in that, and kind of like changing the pendulum. So like when I have kids and they have an idea in a business, they can come with me to a business plan.
Yeah.
And I can be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, here's a loan, which would be a really, really cool thing to like provide for your family.
Yeah. In your career, let's say 5, 10, 20 years from now, what do you see? Like, what is the goal? Is this what you want to stay in like forever?
So I love real estate. And it's something that you can do forever, right? Like everybody knows a realtor, right? You probably know 5 realtors.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at your phone book, you probably know 5 realtors.
Yeah.
But it's because you can do it for so long. And I love it. Like, I love the buying the house process. I know that it's something that it's never going to go away, right? It's one of the strongest, like best investments you can make is in real estate.
Yeah.
So.
Are you only doing residential right now?
Yes.
Do you think you'll go into commercial? Because if you do, I'm going to be interested.
I can get you into contact with someone. I don't know. That's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
So since I'm so new in it, and maybe someday, but I mean, I'm only my 6-month mark, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to learn everything I possibly can right now. So it's, classes, it's prospecting, it's being in the office, it's talking to other realtors, like them showing me what's going on. So maybe one day.
Yeah.
But right now I kind of like the more intimate residential
Got it.
connection.
Yeah. And that's your thing. I mean, you're not going to it's like once you betray what you are meant for, all these things start happening that just don't seem to make sense. But maybe one day you will be. Maybe one day you will be like meant for commercial, but you'll know when that happens more than anything, So obviously you've been through a lot. And where you're at right now, I'm sure you must love like the place that you're at right now. Even like if I were to ask you like, would you jump ahead 5 years? You probably wouldn't, because like everything that's going on right now is probably like really fun.
Yeah.
But if you could go back 5 years, right? I think that there's so many people that are in that place where you were 5 years ago, and want that advice and guidance of someone that's like finally where you're at the right place. You've probably let go of a lot of things that weren't good, weren't healthy, weren't beneficial for you. And if you could go back 5 years and just let go of one thing, that would have made all the difference. What do you think it would have been?
I think it would have been fear. So 5 years ago, I wanted my real estate license.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it's something I've always talked about doing. And I was in a new place.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know too many people. And I was like, why should I get my real estate license?
Yeah.
But if it was something, if I let go of that fear of being like, why not?
Yeah.
Why couldn't I do it?
What do you think it cost you by not doing it 5 years ago versus if you had?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of time. Like most realtors don't last their first year because they don't do a deal their first year.
Oh, I didn't know that. Why is that?
Because it's hard. At real estate school, they don't teach you how to actually like prospect and get clients, right? So like most people's first clients are, their sister, their best friend, etc. And then they start like rolling. But it's a lot harder than people think, because you wake up, you don't have someone, you don't have to go into an office.
Really?
You don't have like a boss being like, what are you doing today?
Mm-hmm.
You're really kind of on your own. It's your own business.
So even when you work with like a real estate company, it's just your own leads. You're providing your own leads all the time.
For the most part,
That's insane.
Yeah. So it's hard. And you have to have so much money saved and all this other stuff to be able to do it.
You're starting a business
You're starting a business.
Wow. That's insane. If you had let go of that fear 5 years ago, where do you think you would have been at now? What would that life look like? I know it's a big question. I know it's a big question.
5 years is like,
you
never know what could happen in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years ago, I was more broke than I've ever been. I think we were living, I don't even know where we were living. We might have been living with my boyfriend's parents at that time. I think, where could I be from 5 years from now? I could have a couple investment properties, I could, where would I be?
I mean, it's right there what you said. That's if you have the vision, because 5 years from now, the same thing might happen. Mm-hmm. But the point is, like, all that time, you just don't get back.
Yeah. And
that's the message that I think I really want people to understand. That because of fear, it sucks your time. That's really the only thing that it does.
Yeah.
Right now, if we're being honest, do you have something that's holding you back because of fear?
Always.
What do you think it is?
I'm trying to think. It's just simple things like every day. I've been passing out newsletters to my neighborhood, right? And going in, knocking doors and introducing myself. And every morning I still wake up. I mean, I did it for 2 hours this morning. I was walking and we're finished this. I still haven't finished my neighborhood, so I'm going back. But I still get scared to talk to people.
Yeah.
I do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, no, my word of the year is to be fearless. That's actually my word this year. Every year I choose a different word. But
I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, so I kind of understand you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just scary. You don't know,
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was going with that, but
yeah, no, it's just your fear. But what's really great about it is, even though you feel it, you're still getting past it.
Yeah.
Do you do it every day? Even though you don't want to? Like, is there certain days where you should go and you don't?
Yeah, of course. Of course there's certain days. I mean, I just even started things like, filming yourself on Instagram. As silly as that sounds, right? You want to come off like you are this perfect person that has everything together. Nobody does. I for sure don't have everything together. So even things like filming like doing an Instagram story and like showing my face on it.
Yeah.
It's scary sometimes.
Yeah. I can give you the best advice for this because I would never do that myself, right? After about a month or two, you're going to film yourself somewhere completely random in front of a bunch of people, and you're going to not even realize you're doing it.
True.
Yeah. That happened to me because, again, I used to never do it. I used to be like, oh, I read this thing that said guys that take selfies are conceited and they're narcissistic and they're less likely to be liked and all that stuff, right? So I always had that in my mind. And I started filming myself, and at one point, I was in my car, in my neighborhood. There was people walking everywhere, and I had to do one, and I forgot why I had to do one. But I was there, and I was like, hey, guys, and it didn't work. I'm like, hey, guys, and it was like third or fourth time, and then I saw, like, somebody moving, like an actual motion, and I was like, what the hell am I doing recording myself in my car? And it just goes away, and it's so strange how all those things that we're afraid of, they just kind of go away after a while, and you don't even realize that you were even afraid of them anymore. That's really cool that you're doing that on Instagram because all these steps that you're compounding. Best way I guess is compounding interest because everybody knows what it is, but that doesn't exist anymore. So it doesn't apply. But you're building all these things that to where eventually like something sticks, and then you're just like, how did I even get here? And it's like, well, because you're doing 40 different things. That's why you got here. You know. I really appreciate you coming on the show and just like really being real about where you're at. And I think that from like the bottom of my heart, I know you're going to make it, you know? You're welcome. Is there anything that you want to say, you know, anything that you would want to tell somebody to encourage them to kind of just keep going, even though it's going to be like difficult or something like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, you just have to decide. Like, with what you want in your life, like nothing is like too small or too big. And if you do want something, like decide to do it.
Yeah.
Like quit telling yourself you can't. I did it way too long.
Anyone that you want to give a shout out to before we end?
Shout out. Hi, Mom. She'll love that I'm on this.
That's awesome. Okay, well, Rachel Wright, guys, until next time.
Bye.